Welcome into another sick podcast episode with Draft Vogel. I'm Draft Vogel, John Vogel. You can follow the show on Twitter if you're not already at SickPod NFL Draft. You follow me at Draft Vogel. My co-host coming in here in just a minute at Gam Scout, Justin Gamble. You can follow him. He's probably going to end up on hot takes exposed or cold takes exposed anyways again. So maybe it'll be entertaining. We got Shane back in the studio with us today. So Shane, let's get this thing rolling.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Draft Vogel.
With the first pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. The first pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. With the first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft.
The sickest NFL Draft Show. It's gonna be sick.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening. That's the beautiful thing about a podcast. I have no idea where you people are. That's probably really nice. Regional shows are different. I have an idea where you're at. You might be listening online, but for the most part, you're in the area. And, we got a lot of listeners, and I've been really grateful, really excited about where this thing's going. And the Sick Podcast Network continues to explode. I don't know if you saw, but we just had my guy Tyson Bagent, wow, on Adam Rank and Tyler Scott show over there on Sick Podcast Bears. Let's go ahead and bring Justin in. And Justin,
we didn't do our vocal warm-ups, and it shows right there, bro.
Oh, it did? Oh, dang it.
Yeah.
Put that down in the notes for the sustains and improves. That's going to be an improve.
Yeah.
We're going to get our vocal warm-ups.
Write that down. Yeah.
Well, how are you doing, buddy?
Oh, boy. Doing good, man. Fresh off an Avalanche win last night. And
don't even go. Okay.
I won't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's getting colder outside. It's starting to look like football weather out here in Colorado. So, and we're knee deep in it, which is great. Finally getting to that time where we can start looking at like actual tape over, weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's starting to make sense to us, and things are starting to click. So this is pretty cool.
And that's what I talked about. Was the reason that I do what I do with the show, and not just talk about the prospects and stuff, and really get into more advanced stuff on scouting in general, is number one because I think in my intro I said this. BC Mercado was known for that. Mercado, one of the great all-time scouts in the industry, was with the Houston Oilers and then the Tennessee Titans for a very long time. Just always sharing his knowledge. I think that's the first step. But the other thing is, when we're in the beginning of the season, it's so easy to overreact to a week 0 performance or a week 2 performance. When these guys are fresh out with their schemes and new stuff coming out, now that everybody's kind of collectively gathered stuff on everybody, we're really starting to see certain players shine. And that's what we definitely want to get into tonight, because I have this great idea, Justin. When we talked about it, we talked extensively about it today before recording. I think we need to do a top 10, it's the Sick Podcast big board. And we're going to create this big board by taking turns drafting prospects.
Are you taking credit for my idea?
Was this your idea?
I don't know. Let's look at our text chain.
Let's
look at our text chain and see.
Was it? I'm pretty sure it's my idea, buddy. I'm pretty sure. Actually, if I'm being honest, I stole the idea for the concept of it from Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks on Moving the Chains, which is one of the great podcasts in the NFL draft. If you don't listen to that, that's another really good one to catch up with. But they do a fantasy format.
They do that. Yeah.
Where they draft rookies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like they pick like 3 rookies, a quarterback, a running back, and a wide receiver, a tight end, and they put them in, and whoever has the most fantasy points at the end of the week wins, and that's what they do. And I think they get people involved, that kind of stuff. But I think we need to do a top 10 big board for the show. That's our initial big board to go out. The top 10 prospects of the NFL draft, and we're going to take turns picking them, and I think you should go first.
I mean, it's pretty easy here, I think, if we're going to do a big board. I mean, I got to go quarterback, and I would have to take Caleb Williams right now.
Okay.
I don't want to overthink it. I know he's had some tough weeks, and I know Drake May is looking, looking solid too, minus the loss from Virginia, but he didn't play
Well,
bad in that game. But
Yeah, that's. I was about to add that. If you go back, well, let's touch on Drake here. Let's talk about Caleb. Sorry.
just gonna say, Caleb, I don't think anything's changed for me. We talked about him last week. I don't want to overthink a talent like this. He's my pick. You know, again, we've talked about him ad nauseum. It's just each week I keep seeing new opinions on him and new who he's not better than, who he is better than. It's kind of getting old, but I think if we're just boiling it down to this class, he's still my top guy.
Number one prospect in the class.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so clearly he's got a very good arm. Effective consistently around 55 to 60 yards. Very effective throwing the ball off platform. He throws a very beautiful touch ball. Excellent arc. Could deliver it over defenders. Has a very flexible release. Can make throws from multiple release angles and arm slots. Ridiculously quick release. Low release point. Sees a few more batted down footballs to the line of scrimmage. So that's probably my first con right there.
Yeah.
Accuracy at all times is uncanny. Throws some ridiculous footballs. Overall, very strong placement. Can make just about any throw on the field. Does struggle to layer more difficult throws between coverage zones.
He's kind of like what Matt Stafford was when he was first coming to the league, where he would throw fastballs a little too often. But I think that'll come with time.
No, that's good. That's a good one. So actually, that's very accurate. Points, positions in the pocket fairly well. Can be too quick at times to leave it, looking to create. Sometimes will hold on to the football too long, takes unnecessary sacks. So I'm not entirely impressed with his pocket positioning and poise. I think sometimes he doesn't have a good feel for when to leave and when to be there. So that's probably about average. Maneuvers the pocket like a pro, though. His maneuverability is great. When he has to get out of there, has a natural feel for where defenders are and how to escape to space. Has some lower body issues, inconsistencies that come down to his lack of a clear mechanical motion. Very fluid through his drops, and his feet end up all over the place. Good quickness, gets to his break well, gets lazy sometimes in his drop, plays his speed down to his opponent. Obviously, very mobile guy. We talked about his improv. He's an elite improviser. He can extend plays. Ridiculously intelligent. Will try to force the football through windows that aren't there at times, almost putting too much faith in his arm talent abilities. But he reads pre-snap very well. Doesn't run into situations where he puts the ball into harm's way very often overall.
Yeah.
Minus the Notre Dame game.
What a scouting report.
Good report, huh? Yeah.
That's like pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
6005 220 junior out of Gonzaga High in Washington, D.C. He was a 5-star, was a number one quarterback recruit coming out of high school.
Yes, he was. He was.
Yeah, there's our report on Caleb Williams. So you went Caleb. I think everybody knows Drake May is going to go second overall. But for the sake of a big board, is a big board about where they're going to go in the draft, or is it about best overall talent?
Best overall talent. Who's the best at what they do?
You know, and so you're going to hate. You're going to take
Drake.
No, I'm not going to take Drake.
Man.
I think Drake is going to be a really good quarterback. I just don't think he's going to be the second best prospect in this class. Like when all is said and done, you're going to kill me for this after our conversation we had before we did this show.
Who are you? I'm looking at my list. Like, who are you taking?
I'm going to take Olu Fashanu, offensive tackle out of Penn State. On the Senior Bowl watch list this year, also Bruce Feldman's freaks list, 6'4", 6'4" and 5/8", 321 pounds. Did you know we share a birthday?
You and Olu.
Yeah, but I'm 6 years older than he is. So
didn't you guys celebrate together last year at SeaWorld? Was that someone else?
I wish. That would have been great.
Shucks.
Out of Gonzaga College High, Waldorf, Maryland, 3-star coming out. It was considered the 50th. Phil Steele's 50th best offensive line prospect. He's played well beyond that. Did not play the COVID year. I think he's got good quickness and speed. Absolutely suitable for the NFL level. He won't be a guy that you ask to pull or move into space, but a guy who can be very effective moving downhill. Very strong anchor, maintains his leverage very well, and will reset his feet when he starts to feel off balance. He's extremely measured prospect. Exciting with the way he consistently counters and defends his pass rush attacks. He's very controlled, consistent run blocker. His college offense doesn't translate too well to the professional level, but it was a very mature decision by Olu to return for one more season with just 12 career games. To his credit, he only had played in 12, started 9 coming into the year just due to injuries and the red shirt that he took in 2021. But world class, and just what he can do.
If he would have come out last year, he would have been a top 10 pick. So the fact that he did return is I think in both of our opinions, probably a pretty mature decision to say, like, I need more reps. He moves a lot lighter and better than most people his size. He moves like a guy that's 2 inches shorter and a lot lighter. So that is a huge plus. We talked about this before the show today, that he had a little bit of a tough game against Ohio State. Against, how do we say his name? Number 44 on Ohio State, JT Tuimamala.
Don't ask me. I have no idea.
Tuimamala.
We're just going to say JT.
No, yeah, the defensive end from Ohio State gave him a tough game. And we said this, though. JT is one of the few college pass rushers who you will see that has grown man NFL power and jolt in his hands. And I think he isn't the typical fly off the ball speed rusher we see from a lot of these undersized college guys. He's not really undersized. And I think he kind of altered his timing a little bit during that game. Quite a few of the reps where you could see him kind of set up Olu's hands. And then he would win the length battle by, kind of throwing off the timing, a little jab step, and he would get into Olu's chest. And I think he won a lot more reps than people anticipated going in. I don't think it means Olu's any less of a prospect. It's just, this is what he came back to college for, is to get some of these important reps and see some of the things he wasn't able to see last year, and just kind of get more experience under his belt. And, that Ohio State game was probably a big learning experience for him, because, it was a little ugly, but I don't think it's anything to really worry about. So,
well, it's not just this Ohio. It's every time Olu has played Ohio State and faced JT, he's had issues. JT's most of his college production has been against Olu. Like, you go look at the rest of his production, like last year, most of it, 80% of it was in that game.
So it makes you wonder, is it something we knock Olu for? Are we worried about how he handles speed to power? Like, what do we...
No, not at all. There? I don't know I haven't diagnosed what the problem is with that. I don't know. But what I do know is that if, let's say, the Tennessee Titans draft Olu to be their left tackle, because they could really use one right now, and they very well may be picking very high in the draft next year. If they take Olu, if I'm the Houston Texans, the Jacksonville Jaguars, or the Indianapolis Colts, and I got a late first-round pick or an early second-round pick, I'm taking JT, because I know I have to play the Titans 2 times a year, and I'm going to go put him up against Olu, because that's the one guy. This is the one, that's going to be a really rare, we don't normally see that kind of thing, but
yeah.
That's what I'm doing. If I'm in that division, I know I got to play that guy twice a year. I'm drafting JT strictly for that game, and I'm taking him a lot higher than I probably should because
he's the older player, huh?
Yeah, he's the cheat code. So,
yeah.
But no, I think that's going to help JT by itself. Is the fact that he had games. He's not a top 10 guy. We're not going to get into him, but that's going to help his draft status. Just the fact that he had 2 really good games against Olu and was very productive in those games.
Yep.
So
agree.
Number 3, go ahead. Let's see. Let's hear it, Justin.
This is my pick. Oh.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to leave Drake May on the board, because he's a quarterback, but I'm going to leave him on the board after everything we've talked about. And even after we've crapped on this guy over the past few weeks, I think I'm still going to take Marvin Harrison Jr.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He does have some of the flaws that we've talked about. He doesn't handle press super, super well. His release package needs some work, but a guy at that size and that probable speed is going to transform a passing game one way or another. The way he tracks the ball vertical, the way he gets vertical at his size, the things he's able to do on the boundary, his body control. I think there is a lot of validity to how high he's going to go. It's just because no matter where you put him, even if he's just a threat, even if he goes to an offense that doesn't have a great quarterback or a big time passing offense, he transforms the way defenses are going to have to look at you now and game plan for you. And I do wish he was a little better with the ball in his hands, but at 6'3", 210,
205. Yeah.
205, yeah, you're not going to get Jamar Chase out of this guy. That's just not what he's going to be. So, yeah, I think for number 3, I got to take the top receiver currently in the draft.
Yeah, that's fair. I think he entered the season considered a top 10 prospect by most NFL teams. He's listed as a top 10 pick on NFS and is the number 1 prospect at Ohio State. Very solid speed. He should run a sub 4.5 40. He flashes some very solid body control. Good acceleration. Shows the ability to step into another gear to create space toward the end of the route. Similar to Jamar Chase. Just saying. Excellent explosiveness. Very solid footwork throughout the route. Good on timing concepts. Controls his feet well to position himself to create separation. He has an impeccable ability to create separation mid-route with his body leverage. He's can work several releases and get through press, although he doesn't do too well with physicality. That's one of the things we've harped on. Tries to show that he can work the sideline with 2 feet in bounds. Got a lot better over 2022. He's looking really good there now. Excellent hands and catch radius. Waits till the last second to flash the hands. That's an underrated skill in a wide receiver. When you wait, and you bait that guy to get down close to you, and you pop the hands like very last second, and then they react, but the ball's already there.
And it works the other way too. Like some guys you'll see flash their hands early just to draw PI.
Yeah.
Put up your hands a little bit, and then the DB is all over you, and you're like, the ball's not even here yet, bro. Like, so it does go both ways, and I think he's really, really good at that. He gave Kalen King a hell of a day against Penn State.
I'm not as high on Kalen King.
I wasn't
Size.
either. Yeah,
Size.
I'm just saying Kalen King is like one of those guys that people were like, oh, this is going to be a big matchup, and he's a potential top 10 pick at corner. I haven't seen that, but I'm just saying, regardless of what you thought about Kalen King, he had a tough day against Marvin Harrison Jr. So,
yeah, I think on the broadcast is worth pointing out that they actually mentioned that. They said, "Well, everybody's talking about Kalen King and Marvin Harrison." I think Joel Klatt said this. He said, "But I really want to talk about Olu Fashanu against these Ohio State edge rushers." Blah blah blah. So what does that tell you? Some people actually know what they're talking about.
Joe Klatt and Gus Johnson did a great game. Oh,
yeah,
man, those are 2 of the best. Yeah,
always.
Gus is a legend.
Fist bump before the game gives you goosebumps.
Gus is on my top 10 board for sure.
Yeah, he's got good vertical ability. Flashes the no all to shield the catch point from the defender with his body. Ridiculous ability to catch through contact spectacularly. Holds on through egregious contact. Did seem to struggle with concentration in 2023. He has some drops this year. That's been a little bit concerning. Stuff that we don't typically expect to see from him.
I'd say he had one. It was like I forget if it was just like a swing route or something pretty simple against Penn State. And you saw him fight. You saw him fight that ball. There was one where he fought it and like double caught it, and I was like, "Come on, man!" It's just I don't know if it's just he's thinking I got to get that ball and get upfield too fast. I don't know what it really is. If it's just concentration, but yeah, there are some times where that's on tape and it's hard to ignore.
I want to say he had a couple games where he had multiple drops this year. I'm going to double check that real quick.
I have a feeling you might be right.
I think I'm pretty darn sure that I saw that, and I was like, that's not good. And I saw him in game. I didn't see it like on a stat sheet because I haven't looked. That's why I don't know.
We came up with a little comp for him pre-show.
You had a better one. I thought Jordan Matthews.
Okay, and I said if you look at their frames, I guess, and combine numbers, this guy also came. So this guy that we're gonna give him a quick comp to came in at 6'3", 209 at the combine, ran a 4.45, 36.5 vert, 10.5 broad. He went with the 14th pick in 2015. That was Devontae Parker out of Louisville. Like identical size from what we're getting word that MHJ is. Mm-hmm. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a better prospect and a better player, but it's just one of those things where they're so identical physically. And
even the testing numbers that Devontae put up is about what you would expect Marvin to get at the combine. They should be they should be very close.
They should.
So he's got 5 drops this year. Yeah. 1 against Youngstown State. 1 against Maryland. I feel like there's probably 2. They're only crediting him with 1 on PFF, and we know how reliable PFF is. That's a whole nother debate for another day.
A whole nother episode.
Yeah, that's all. That might be an episode at some point. And then 3 drops against Purdue.
Yeah.
They did not credit him with a drop against Penn State, but I think there was one there too.
I thought there was one.
I'm pretty sure there was one there. But right now, if you're going off of PFF, he's got a 10% drop rate, which is
too high for a guy that's going to go top 5 or top.
Not great.
Yeah.
He's got a few more games to rebound and improve that number, but we've seen the Purdue game specifically, he was really having trouble concentrating. And then when you look at the Indiana game, when they ran a lot of press, 6 targets, 2 catches. Notre Dame was the other game they ran a lot of press, 7 targets, 3 catches.
Yeah.
So 5 catches between those 2 games where he was pressed a lot. That seems to be his kryptonite. We've talked about that extensively on the show. So
yeah,
he just doesn't work through physicality and press very well at all. He wants space to operate.
Yeah. Or I think maybe he feels like he deserves space. Like he thinks he's so athletic and so good, it's just going to happen. But I think he's faced some guys this year that are really, and think about it, we talked about this as well. When you're the top guy and everyone knows you're the top guy, you're going to get everyone's best. Everyone you play is coming for that top dog. So, a guy that's normally a 5 out of 6 or 5 or 6 is going to bring his game to an 8 or 9 or 10 today. And, it's like that in any sport. So,
I'll give him props too, because, when he was a freshman, he averaged 12.5 yards a catch. Mm-hmm. As a sophomore, he averaged 16.5. And this year he's averaging 18.2. So that's another uptick with a lesser impressive quarterback. So that's I'm going to give him credit for that too. His first down rate looks pretty darn good as well. He's got 28 first downs on 42 catches. So he's come up when they've needed him to in those situations. So, there's good stuff here, obviously. And, there's a reason why he's considered the number 1 prospect at the wide receiver position. So,
big time player.
But yeah, we talked about the few concerns. Every prospect there's no such thing as a perfect prospect. There's not. So it is what it is. We're going to talk about all that different stuff and say, well, if this guy doesn't work out, this is why he's not going to work out.
Happens. Who you got with number 4?
Number 4, I'm going to go ahead and take Drake May off the board right here. I think that 4 is probably a good spot for him, especially with the rest of the guys that we're going to talk about. 6'4" and 3/8 is what I got him at. 220. Redshirt sophomore out of Myers Park High in Charlotte, North Carolina. Was a 4-star guy coming out. Had a 96.11 rating on On3, which, hey, if you don't use On3 yet, you need to. That site for high school stuff is killing it. They're awesome. So much more additional information that you can pull off of that site than 24/7 or Rivals right now. Ironically, the same guy created Rivals and 24/7 Sports. That's Shannon Terry. Yeah, Shannon Terry. He created On3. So this guy's been making these websites, and he just keeps making them better. And On3 is amazing. So if you're not using it, use it. Use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh boy.
There's no doubt that Drake May has incredible ability to extend plays and improvise, though he mostly becomes a runner under pressure. Very strong arm to push the ball downfield. May has NFL tools and a gunslinger mentality that make him dangerous. Coming from an athletic family, his brothers have competed for championships in multiple sports. One brother, Cole, won a baseball championship at Florida. He's got really great arm strength. It's evident as soon as he starts throwing the football. Throws a good touch. Just doesn't seem to know when to use it yet. Release is good, not great. Will be fine at the next level, but don't expect anything overly special, though he can throw from different arm slots and maneuver the ball as needed. Struggles at times with accuracy in timing concepts. Tends to force the ball under pressure when he was able to get away with some throws, but got burned more often than not. Flashes pinpoint deep ball accuracy and placement. It's insane to see how well he sees some plays open.
Yeah.
Will miss on some intermediate crossers at times. That's a little bit concerning. Feet's usually good. He's got good foot quickness. Good athlete. Again, very effective scrambler. Not a guy I really want to get running the ball per se. But
no, I wouldn't want that. I don't think you need to either. Like
I said this last week. I'm gonna say again. Aaron Rodgers is my comp for him. I can't think of a skill set that better describes how Drake May plays football.
And I don't. The more I thought about that, I don't hate that at all. I even like it. I think that's actually pretty solid. You want like it's just, Aaron can run. You don't want him to run. Aaron can create off platform. Drake May can too. Aaron sometimes throws fastballs when he shouldn't. Drake May kind of does too. I think the interesting thing about Drake that people don't understand though is this year he is with a new offensive coordinator, and so he's trying to get that young offense on schedule. He's trying to get them all on the same page. It is tough in football. It's tougher than people realize. It's not Madden where it's just like new playbook, like adjust it to everybody. Everyone's good to go. It's tough to get everyone at the same time, everyone to run the same route, everyone to have the same adjustments, and like everything has to be flawless. And he's super reliant on everyone else around him being the quarterback. So some of those struggles, sometimes I'm like, oh, he looked like he saw it, thought about it, then reacted a little late. But I'm like, yeah, I got it's probably something new to him, and it's probably he's like, oh shoot, does my receiver understand what I'm seeing? And maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. So I thought last year he looked a little more decisive. This year he looks a little better. That kind of sounds contradictory, but I feel like you can tell some reps in certain games, like I don't think everything clicked the way it should have for that play. It looked a little disjointed, but yeah, he's an elite prospect in my opinion. I think in a lot of other classes he would have been the top guy. So
absolutely. I mean, he's got size, arm strength, has all the new age arm slot throws.
Yeah, he's an athlete for being so big. He's not super long levered like a Justin Herbert. I mean, he can really adjust his arm angles and throw with a compact release. There's a lot to like about the kid.
Now, I think Shane back in the producer box over there, Shane, if he's with us, does Shane remember having any? Shane, get out here! Come on, get up here for a second.
We need you, Shane.
Yeah. Do you remember the other Drake brothers in college, like in North Carolina?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, because there was the one that played when North Carolina went and they lost to, was it Gonzaga a few years ago in the national championship?
Oh, in
basketball.
Oh, I was like, what?
Yeah, college basketball. Yeah. One of the May brothers was on that team, and he was like the star.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's I swear it's true. It's true. Shane, you got a computer to help us out here?
Shane just wants to talk about hockey.
I do like basketball, though. I do like basketball. What's his name?
So it was, I can't remember his first name.
Yeah.
But it was a May brother. It's one of Drake's brothers. He was on the North Carolina basketball team.
Luke May.
Luke May. Yeah, Luke May. That's it. And they went and they competed for a national championship that year. I think that was the year that they made it, but they lost. And I can't remember if it was Gonzaga that beat them or if it was Connecticut. Or maybe it was somebody else. I can't even remember because it was a few years ago.
I know.
Yeah, Luke May. And he was a solid basketball player. I don't think he went on to the NBA or anything.
I know Drake May was on Move the Sticks podcast with Daniel and Bucky, and I remember he was talking about he had a bunch of stud brothers and family members that were sports guys. Or
yeah,
people,
so
whatever girls,
The stuff about Luke here's the accolades: third team All American 2018, first team All ACC. Like, think about third team All American. You're a top 20 basketball player in college basketball.
Yeah, he did some time with the Bucks in Milwaukee. I don't know where he is now though.
There was one year they went to the playoff. They made it. I think they made it all the way.
The point we're trying to make here is Drake May comes from an athletic family.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's an athlete.
What year was it that they made it? That's killing me right now. I want to figure this out because I remember them making a deep run. I thought that they made it really far. May was a huge part of it.
All the years for basketball.
16, 17.
2017?
I think so. North Carolina went on to beat Oregon and Gonzaga to win the NCAA men's basketball national championship. He finished the season averaging 5.5 points per game.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. That was the year because he was one of the guys that they were hyping up and talking a lot about.
Yeah.
Most outstanding player of the NCAA South region after scoring career highs in both wins over Butler 16, Kentucky 17, sending the Tar Heels to the Final Four with a 19-foot jump shot with 0.3 seconds to play. This is what I remember right here, to give North Carolina a 75-73 win over Kentucky.
That was him?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was Drake. That was Drake May's brother, dude.
The light bulb just went on. The light bulb
Yeah.
just went on.
He was 6'8", 240, like forward.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So
Dog.
thank you, Shane. Appreciate you there, buddy.
Anytime, my boy. Anytime.
Like, no, I'm serious. Like,
Producer Shane.
yeah, crazy family.
Okay.
In the sense of athletes. And then his other brother won a championship at Florida.
Well, that,
You know, like it's funny because
Wow.
Luke May like had the national championship ring on the I think it was College Game Day. They did a short, like a 5-minute short about them playing
Yeah.
golf. And he has the national championship ring. He's like spotting his golf ball with his national championship ring to wave it in Drake's face.
yeah.
That stuff was funny. But
That-
sorry.
I think no. I think that matters too. Like you grow up your whole life playing high level sports with your brothers and your friends. Like that stuff translates just because you're used to. I mean, it sounds stupid, but you're used to those moments of just improvising and trying new stuff, and just like being an athlete isn't something that you're working hard for. You're a natural athlete, and I think that shows with Drake when you watch Drake May play.
And I think Aaron Rodgers, his brother Jordan, played at Vanderbilt for a couple of years, and now
then
he's
he
an
was
analyst.
And then he was on The Bachelorette. And
yeah,
now he's an analyst. Yeah, now he's an
yeah, he's an analyst now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, number 5, Justin. Who you got at number 5?
All right, this might shock some people, but
Okay.
we talked about him pre-show too, and he's just impressed me, maybe more than he should. But J.C. Latham, the right tackle from Alabama, he's listed at 6'6", 360. I would have never known that, because when you watch him on tape, I mean, he has range. He's a legitimate tackle. He has long arms and probably the strongest hands in the entire class. I mean, the way he handles power and controls people once he gets his hands on them is outrageous. And I know I've heard the move to guard talk, but I don't think that's necessary. This is a tackle. And especially at that size, I mean, that's who you look for. This is the guy you look for to handle the Bosa brothers and, Max Crosby, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. Like, you got to have long, rangy guys that can really handle themselves. And I think we learned this with Dawan Jones, the rookie for the Cleveland Browns. Was he 4th round last year out of Ohio State? When a guy is just so big, even if he's not the most fleet of foot and skilled like Dawan Jones, just the fact that you have to get around them and clear them is tough. You know what I mean? It gives you an added advantage to being a smaller guy who wins with more technical ability and hand placement and blah, blah, blah. It's just, having a big dude is a good thing to have. It's a good luxury to have.
Orlando Brown. I mean, he's made a career doing that, being the biggest guy.
Yeah.
So I got him at 6'5" and 2/8, 326.
JC Latham.
Yeah, JC Latham.
Okay, good. Something like
Junior.
360 does not make sense.
No, 326.
Okay, good.
IMG Academy, Bradenton, Florida, is where he's from, but he went to IMG,
He's
which
a top-ranked recruit in that entire class.
5-star. Well, what's funny is Phil Steele's is always a little bit different. It's more consensus,
Okay.
and he had him as the second offensive lineman in that class. That's why I always track what Phil Steele had, because it's a very consensus. It's over the top of everything. I don't have a report on him, as terrible as it sounds. It's just not a guy that I've taken a lot of notes on. I haven't looked at extensively. So
It's early, pal. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it.
well, with all the 3rd, 4th, 6th high priority free agents I know about, I should know about JC Latham, but I haven't looked at him yet. I just haven't.
Yeah. He's the left tackle had a rough game against Arkansas, but against what's his name? Landon Jackson? Is it Landon Jackson?
Yeah.
The defensive end for Arkansas gave the left tackle, I mean, just a hell of a game. But JC Latham is as solid as ever. And I know I said this pre-show, I said he could end up being the first tackle taken. You said absolutely not. You're probably right, but I think his tape is fantastic. We'll see how he tests. Probably not as well as Olu will, because Olu is a complete dancing bear.
He's a freak.
But
yeah.
But yeah, Latham is, in my opinion, is probably going to be the second tackle taken when it all said and done. The tape is great, and he shows a lot of the things that just translate so easily for offensive tackles. So I think the only real thing you could say is what a lot of big guys do, and they lunge a little early here and there, but I think he does it a lot less than a lot of guys we see. He's probably one of the best Bama tackles I've seen. Man, he's better than Jonah Williams. He's better than Cam Robinson. He's better than Jedrick Wills. I'm trying to think. Yeah, this is probably one of the best I've seen in a long time. So,
Well, I know who I'm watching when I get home tonight.
get your eyes on that tape, pal.
Yeah, because I just downloaded a bunch of. I got the Alabama-Texas game. I can go take a look at. Get started there.
You should, as you should.
All 22, baby.
Oh,
Thank God. All 22.
So you got number 6. Did I take number 5? Yeah, you got number 6.
You got number. Yeah, so number 6.
This is where it gets dicey because
Yeah,
this
this
is where
is-
we got a lot of guys that are kind of smushed in there, and I don't know if the class has really separated itself too well yet.
No, I think we're still in the range we're trying to figure people out. But, there's a guy I think that's really going to do a great job separating. And then in the last few years, we've seen corners come off the board really, really fast. For that reason, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Kareem Jackson at Oregon. I'm going to put him at 6. Kyrie Jackson.
Alabama transfer. We've talked
Alabama
about him on the
transfer.
show.
Yep. JUCO from Fort Scott was the 15th ranked junior code prospect coming out. He's a super senior this year, has no more eligibility. 2023 and 2024 Senior Bowl watch list. Long cornerback who can stay in the hip pocket of the receiver. Looks like a prototype cornerback for a match 4 system, which a lot of defenses are running in the NFL right now. We've talked about that extensively on this show. Even before you were here, Justin, we were talking a lot about match 4. Really good speed. He might test really, really well.
Yeah.
Very smooth hips. Excellent man-to-man coverage ability. Plays the football extremely well. Times his attack on the catch point extremely well. He's physical enough at the catch point to disrupt, but clever enough with it where he's not early. Good zone coverage, positioning, and ability. He's an absolute ball hawk. I really like what I've seen from Kyrie Jackson. I think between him and Kool-Aid McKinstry, that's going to be the battle for the first cornerback taken off the board.
I think you're right. I think Kyrie Jackson looks like maybe not as fast, but a better player as Tariq Woolen, who is now a stud for Seattle. I think you're getting that type of corner. Do you want him in man all the time? Probably not. Against the bigger receivers, I think he's who you draft to stop Mike Evans and Marvin Harrison Jr. and a lot of these taller dudes that can stack people downfield, can win above the rim. I think this is the problem solver for that. I don't think you want him guarding this, and Antonio Brown and Calvin Ridley. Like some of those guys might lose these taller corners, but Kyrie is an absolute baller. And I think, you put him in a lot of different zone coverages. He's going to look amazing. His length is crazy. The way he uses it is crazy. His recovery speed is good. Like there's a lot of things that add up to, if this guy becomes the sum of his parts, holy shit, this is a big time corner.
Yeah,
and you've liked him for a long time.
The Colorado game is what caught my attention, honestly.
Yeah.
I felt like I was a Kool-Aid guy until I saw that Colorado game, and I was like, wait a second, we got to take a look at this guy.
Yeah,
Kyrie's fun. Kyrie's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Number 7.
Oof. This is tough. So I think this is where I take my type of guy, and this is where I go Dallas Turner. Where did a lot of Alabama guys right now? A lot of Bama everything. Just good team. I mean, it makes sense. But I want to go Dallas Turner.
Okay.
Edge rusher from Alabama. What is he listed at?
I got him at 6025 and 242.
Okay, I keep seeing like 6'5", 250. I'm like, there's no chance in hell.
No.
Okay, so he's almost 6'3", 240, 245. I think the jump he made from last year to this year, and if you ever watch Alabama, look number 15 on the tape. Slithery, smooth, flexible edge rusher. We talked about him, I think, last week with Jarvis.
Yep.
He's in that. He's probably not Brian Burns. He's not as tall. He's not as long. But you're looking at maybe a Clavon Chason type of guy. One of those undersized, bendy edge rushers. He might not even be as big as Chason was, but the way he's playing,
I think he's about there.
You think so? I think
Yep.
I thought Chase Young came in at like 6'3", 6'4" at the combine, but Turner, the way he played last year to this year, I think he might have had a few more. He had some really good highlights last year, but this year, putting his game together as such a complete player, the way he's handled himself against the run, and also just how loose he looks on this new Bama defense this year that looks faster than it did last year. It looks more complete, I'll say.
Mhm.
I mean, the dude has added to his rush repertoire. I think there's a lot to like about him, even as an undersized guy. And I think, he could test maybe elite. I think there's a chance he, blows us away and he could end up a top 10 pick. I think the only real issue I have right now is he a speed to power guy? Probably not. He's probably going to end up winning the same way Brian Burns has made a career, just being, a speed freak, a bendable, flexible edge rusher. But he comes from Bama, and it shows because like I said, he handles himself against the run, which is not going to be a problem if you put him in a 3-4 scheme and say, hey, you're our outside backer, handle your business. He can do that.
Well, the other thing he can do too is he can play the Hassan Reddick role. I don't think we're talking about him being.
That's a rare role, though.
Well, no, it's expanded. It's expanded dramatically, and it's because of what Hassan Reddick did last year in the Eagles scheme. It's a copycat league. Yeah. Mike McCarthy was talking about this last week on his podcast, the GM pod. I forget what it's called, but talking about how everybody is always worried in the league about losing their job, and it's showing more so this year because of the lack of versatility across the schemes in the league, and everybody's stealing everything. If it works, they're running it. And it's like, well, if it doesn't work, then it's not our fault kind of deal because, it worked over here and we're trying it. So it's like a scheme to try to keep your job, which was very interesting when you kind of think about it. The Eagles match 4, half the league is running that now.
As they should.
Coming into a couple, when Gannon took over that, nobody was running match 4 in the NFL. The closest thing you had to it was with the Legion of Boom and why can't I think of his name? The defensive coordinator who went to the Falcons and now with the Cowboys. Quinn. Dan
Quinn.
Dan Quinn's was the closest to that, but he ran a lot of 3, and different stuff like that, where he would mix up the coverages, and then Staley started disguising everything. Then everybody started disguising and dropping people all over the place, and then Gannon shows up, is like, I'm just going to run match 4, and now everybody's like, oh, that works, let's do it. So, that Reddick role, because Reddick filled it so well, people are looking for those types. It's not as rare of a role as it used to be. I don't think we talk about him being an elite pass rusher if he's in the Reddick role, but he can play it. Yep. So he's a junior out of St. Thomas Aquinas. What a great high school, by the way.
Another Florida boy.
How many guys do we talk about out of St. Thomas Aquinas?
Most of them. Feels like every year.
Every year, there's 3 or 4 of them where we're like,
go back and look at their alumni list of players that have been big time players in the NFL, and it is crazy. I mean, you would think you could build a whole NFL squad just from guys that came from that high school. They're good every year, and they produce guys every year. So
I remember Leonard Fournette came out of there. I want to see who else did real quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who else.
I know that I write that high school down all the time, so I know that there's a bunch of them. I'm pulling up the list on Pro Football Reference. If you didn't know this, you can click on the high school, and it'll give you all the players.
John knows all the tricks.
The alumni. Yeah. Tyrann Mathieu, Trey Turner. Those are guys that came out of there. Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, remember him, the running back?
Yep.
He came out of there.
The law firm.
Derek Rogers back in the 90s and the early 2000s.
I feel like there's so many more like recents.
Jackie Wallace.
My dad's buddy from Costco?
No. Okay. Longtime DB. Legendary DB.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's like 40 guys here on the list, basically. That's what I'm saying.
There's a ton.
This school puts out a lot of prospects every year. Every year I'm typing that name in on guys all the time. St. Thomas Aquinas does a great job. So shout out St. Thomas Aquinas. There's a lot of college players that play there too. But anyways, 5-star, third overall edge rusher coming out, according to Phil Steele. Great speed at the position, like you talked about. I think he's got ridiculous upper body strength, especially when you consider his size.
Yeah.
Excellent lower body strength. He does have some power that he can generate from his lower body to use a bull rush. So I think that I've seen a little bit of speed to power personally.
Yeah.
Excellent
Will it be
hand
his trump
usage.
card? Probably not. But he has
No, but he can use it. So the more tricks you have, the more that you have to set up a guy, the better you're going to be. And he can get into that at times when he wants to. Excellent hand usage, very heavy hands, could disengage at will. I love his initial hand placement. He can bull rush or set himself up to do pretty much anything. Very strong tackling ability, intense player. He wants to punish people. Great wrap-up form. And I thought he does a solid job in zone coverage and coming back up and making plays on the football. So you got a legit, if you are running anything that's close to a semblance of a 3-4, you've got a legit guy.
Take him. Yeah.
Don't overthink it. He's awesome.
Like I said, he's one of those guys I definitely want to see how he tests, because on the field you're like, this is a big time player. That's a big time athlete. And then if he matches it with testing, he's got a lot going for him. Great tape, Bama pedigree, SEC pedigree. He has all that. I think Nolan Smith. We saw how high he went last year. He's not going to run the 4-3 that Nolan Smith ran, but I think this might be a better. I don't want to say better prospect, but a more easy edge rusher to watch and say that'll translate. He just looks different, looks more prototype. I think you're probably going to see a guy, go in the top 25 for sure. And I think Dallas Turner could make that rise into the top 10 or 15.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think when we look back on it, we're going to say he was a top 10 player in this class.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't want cold takes exposed coming for me, so I got to stay safe, bro.
Okay.
Yikes.
So I got number
9, 10, 8?
8. Number 8. Okay. Number 8. I'm going to stick with the edge rushers, but I'm going to go with one that's a little bit more, that fits a 4-3 a little bit better. And I think we talked about him a little bit on the show, but, and he's a very popular guy on Twitter and stuff. But Jared Verse at Florida State, 6'3", so 6'3" and a fourth, basically. 248 was on the Senior Bowl watch list this year and Bruce Feldman's Freaks list. Super redshirt junior transfer from Albany out of Central Columbia and Dayton, Ohio. An absolute game wrecker. Albany was Verse's only offer coming out of high school, where he was listed as a 6'4", 247-pound edge player from Central Columbia High. So get this. This guy comes out. Albany is the only school with the balls to give him an offer. And so he goes to Albany. He catches everybody's attention because Florida State is scouting for Syracuse. And they got the Albany tape from when Syracuse played Albany that year. And they see, hey, who's this motherfucker running down the field chasing Sean Tucker? Like, that's legit how he got found. He chased down Sean Tucker in the open field, and they were so impressed they had to go ahead and offer him. As soon as he entered the transfer portal, he had 25 to 30 offers. Like, absolute flip. And we talked about this before the show. Brian Arakpo type athlete.
That is our comp, yes. And Brian Arakpo, don't know, Brian Arakpo was the 13th overall pick in 2009 out of Texas.
Yeah.
Just a solid, explosive edge rusher with heavy hands. I think Arakpo was probably more raw coming out. Arakpo was just pure power and speed. He didn't really know what he was doing. Where Verse has heavy hands, and he knows what he's doing. He's got a repertoire of moves. He's got a full pass rush arsenal that he can, put out there. He's not the most bendy guy, but I don't think that matters a lot for his game, because he has insane get off. Like we talked about, he has the hands. He has so much going for him. How high do you think he could go? We've talked about him a little bit, but what do you realistically look? Do you think he's a top 15 pick?
No, I think he's a lock at top 15, personally. Okay. I think he's a top 10 guy, just because edge rusher is going to come off the board. Right. But top 5, I don't know yet, because the hardest thing about talking about projecting forward is we don't know who's picking yet. We have no idea. Well,
you got to think the 2 quarterbacks, Marvin Harrison Jr., Olu.
Is there an edge rusher that gets in there? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard
to say. Yeah,
it's hard to say.
Hard to say. So he's a freaking good player.
I think he's a lock at top 15, though. I don't think he gets past 13. He might go if the latest 13 where Arakpo went, and which would be ironic because I think that their testing is going to be ridiculously similar.
Yeah, we
So-
looked at that and it looks pretty darn good. I think Arakpo had like a 10-10 broad, and that might be the only thing we're like, all right, he didn't hit that insane broad jump, but everything else looks pretty.
39 vert and 4.640. Like, I think
identical.
he'll be very close on the testing side. But go ahead with number 9 there, Justin.
This is tough. This is my last pick of the top 10. I feel like we're gonna get roasted. I'm gonna get roasted for leaving this guy off my board, but I got to go Malik Neighbors, the LSU wide receiver.
Yep.
I just don't know how he doesn't become like an absolute stud in the NFL. I think the only thing that you could knock on him is he might come in at 5'11" at the combine, but like the way he can play any spot on the field, separate from any coverage on the field, he catches the ball effortlessly, he tracks it effortlessly, he gets deep, he's a great route runner. There's just so much to his game that I'm like, I don't, if like we talked about this, if you said he becomes the best receiver from this class, that wouldn't shock me. It's just because there's not a lot of ways to shut him down. He's great after the catch. You can move him anyway. I think he's an elite player. I really do. I think Dane Brugler, or maybe it was just the entire athletic staff, said he's just a much faster version of Jackson Smith and Jigba, who went in the top 15 in last year's draft out of Ohio State. And I think that's a pretty good comparison. But like they said, he's much faster. Like there's a lot more suddenness and overall just game speed that you're seeing from this kid. So, if he runs, he's definitely going to run sub 4.5, and it wouldn't shock me to see him run sub 4.45. Like he might hit the high 4.3. I don't know, but there's definitely some big time speed, because when you watch him downfield, I mean, when he's even, he's leaving, and that's what you look for. I mean, you want guys that can really get that extra gear to get deep. So, yeah, he's my 9th pick.
For another Bruce Feldman's freak list player.
I didn't know that.
6. Yeah.
Nice.
This is 6 foot and 5/8, 188 pounds. He's a good speed special athlete. Might test very well. Smooth feet through his breaks. Mentioned that. I think he's got a very strong release ability. He gets through press with relative ease. Like, it's not a problem for him.
Yep.
I did think he struggled tremendously through traffic at times. He's a guy that you want to get up into space. I think that's probably where the Smith Njigba comes from. But the one thing about him that he's elite at is he's crazy after the catch. You get him with the ball in his hands in open field with green grass, he's going to slay. He's amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could see him being a top 10 player out of this class. I don't know if he goes top 10, just because there's going to be other needs and other positions that people are going to prioritize over that. But could absolutely very well be a top 10 player when all's said and done. We look back on the class.
I think it'll come down to his testing, because he's probably the top wide receiver in the class that isn't like his type. Because we got Odunze from Washington, Keon Coleman from Florida State, Marvin Harrison Jr., a lot of bigger guys. And I think Malik Neighbors, if he doesn't test super well, you're not going to take the smaller guy who didn't test super well earlier than them. So he's got to test really, really good. But then, yeah, he could hear his name, top 15, maybe top 10. This is a really, really good player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 10th pick really comes down to 2 guys. And, I think we talked about one of these guys before we got on, and I'm gonna probably leave him off. And so I'm just gonna give him honorable mention, because I think he could be a really good player, and I think he's probably gonna be a top 15, might be a top 10 pick. Jerzon Newton out of Illinois. Honorable mention.
Had a feeling.
But number 10, you can't leave this guy off the top 10 players, because he is going to be an absolute freak at the next level. They're gonna find ways to get him in space, make him a vicious player, and it's Brock Bowers, the tight end of Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean,
unfortunately, hurt for the rest of the. Is he hurt for the rest of the year? He's out, right?
He could come back for the playoff.
Okay.
So if he comes back for the playoff, look out. He's going to be a bad man on a mission. Bruce Feldman's freak list guy, 6'3", so 6'3", 5/8, 230 pounds, junior out of Napa, California. It's a 4-star guy coming out, very high 4-star. Been a starter ever since he walked into basically Georgia. Great speed for the position group. Excellent upper body strength, very physical, excellent explosiveness, strong route runner, ran a very complex route tree from multiple places on the field. Does struggle with concentration drops every once in a while. It's not crazy. But, I mean, you want to talk about a guy that you can scheme. You can put him in the slot. He can run inline. He's small compared to other tight ends, but he's got the strength. He plays up bigger than he is. And the only reason we really noticed that he was small was because he was next to Darnell Washington for 2 years. We're 6'7", 260-pound mammoth over there. Yeah. And like that's how we were like, wait, is Brock Bowers that big? Like you would never guess it watching him. He's an absolute freak. I think when all is said and done, he's a top 10 player.
Not many guys that are that sudden at his size or tight end in general. Like the way I'd say he's a linear player, which, okay, yes. So he's not going to. Yeah, he's not going to dance. Yeah, he's not going to cross you over. But like, oh my God, once he gets the ball in his hands, the ability to just shoot upfield and go is shocking. Like receiver shocking. So, yeah, I think you live with that. For him being a little undersized, you live with the fact that, all right, well, once he gets the ball in his hands, like they're running end arounds and stuff with him at Georgia. That's ridiculous. He's
scoring touchdowns on him.
Yeah, like I don't know if I've seen a tight end that I'm like, oh, he's as fast as Brock Bowers is right now. Like it's not. Maybe Vernon Davis, okay, was an absolute psycho freak athlete. That he doesn't count. Alien. Kyle Pitts ran in the 4.4s, but I mean on tape, Brock Bowers Brock Bowers is the guy that's like, holy crap. You did bring up Jerzon Newton. I think people are going to be confused why we left him off. What was your reason for leaving him off your top 10?
Well, just the fact you went Neighbors. Okay. I wouldn't have had Neighbors in the top 10.
Okay.
And I would have gone 9 would have been Bowers. Number 10 would have been Newton.
Gotcha. Okay. I like
you have a whole nother reason. I'm going to let you get into that. So
I was just curious, and it was something that I kind of was. Me and a buddy were talking about him last week, and I was like, yeah, like we were watching him. And he wins up. He gets upfield. He's a gap shooter. He really wins upfield easily. He's violent with his hands. He's good against the run and the pass. Everything about him is great. The only concern I have is there's a noticeable lack of pop in his hands. There's a noticeable lack of jolt, and he doesn't move guys. He moves around them. You know what I mean? It's almost like when he wins a rep, you're like, I didn't really feel that win because he kind of just scooted around. You never see him affect the player in front of him other than them trying to catch him, which is fine. We talked about this pre-show too. Who's the last first round offensive or defensive tackle that won like that we could say, yeah, like he's not really a guy that has power, that has jolt in his hands. It's hard to think back and really pinpoint a guy like that. That's my only concern with him. History doesn't look good for him. And especially being how undersized he is. He's listed at like 6'2", 295, but I don't know if he is. Because even Aaron Donald coming out of college had some jolt.
I got him go through 6'1" and a 4th and 295.
Okay. Yeah.
So my comp firm was Geno Atkins.
Fair.
Which I think if you're getting a Geno Atkins player and you know that's the career,
you're freaking psyched.
Top 10. Top 10. Like I don't think Atkins went top 10 when he came out, but if there was a redraft, you could go back.
I don't even think Atkins went first round, actually.
I don't think so either.
No. Yeah.
But if there's a redraft and you knew who Atkins was going to be, you'd take him first round.
Right. So I guess that's our hope. Can Newton is that his ceiling? Can he become that? Because I do like him, but I think it's one of those things where, like we talked about it last week with Jarvis, I think Twitter and a lot of people, the media has already kind of boosted this guy up, and now it's like, can we actually talk about his evaluation, or is it too late for that? So, you know what I mean? Whatever. But,
yeah.
Anyways.
Now, you wanted to get into something where you were like, is there an elite defender in this class?
Yeah, that was a question I asked before the show. Is there one guy that we could say that's a blue chip defensive prospect in this class?
Do you think there is?
Not yet. I don't because I don't think Newton is that guy. I don't think Dallas Turner is that guy yet. Potential for it. I don't think any of the corners are blue chip yet. Kyrie Jackson is a high level dude. Kool-Aid McKinstry is a high level guy. I do like Laiatu Latu, the defensive end from UCLA. Mm-hmm. Again, is he a blue chip? elite player disposition. Because when I think about a blue chip guy, I think, okay, even in the NFL, this is going to be one of the top 5 players at his position. That's what I try to go off of, and then you kind of work back from there. I don't see that with any of these guys. I don't think I think there's some safeties that are really good, but no one that's popped yet that I'm like, dude, this is an elite player no matter what. So
I didn't put him top 10 because I think there's one guy that's got the potential to, but it's going to be more so because of the value that he brings to a team.
Who's that?
It's Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean.
Iowa. Yeah, I think that's the one guy because I know that he can play safety. I know that he's going to be good at it.
I think he should too.
I know that he's going to be a great return specialist too. So when I look at those two things, that's going to be a guy that's going to be considered top 5. Maybe not necessarily because he's a top 5 safety in the league, but because of the value that he brings to a team, he'll be top 5.
Yeah, I think your hope for him is he can bring some like real versatility. Can he play nickel? Can he play strong safety? Is he good enough to play free? Like, what is his specialty? And then I think he worked down from there. What is he best at? And then can he do these other things? I haven't really dug into his all-22 yet, and I'm kind of excited to because I know when you watch Iowa games live, you're like, oh, that dude's a baller. But then, we've had that in the past with so many players, and then you get into him, you're like, oh, shoot, I spoke too soon. And now
I saw him at the Music City Bowl against Kentucky.
Yeah.
And he was electric, dude.
Yeah.
Electric. And then, this week, Iowa fans are pissed off for good reason because they called his punt return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
A fair catch because he pointed at the ball or something.
I guess. Yeah, I don't even get me started there. I've watched that a million times, and I can't figure out what they were. And then, I mean, there was other plays in that game where he was doing the same thing. Other plays in other games where everyone's doing the exact same thing. I guess, like I said, I don't want to get into it. But
you see, that's the thing is
very frustrating.
I saw a former referee talking about this, and he made a really great point. He said, I want my games that I ref, that I officiate, have to be they have the result. We have to be talking about what the players did on the field, not what the officials did to mess with the game.
We saw that in the NFL this year too. This weekend too. The NFL had a few games this weekend where like the official. I mean, what was the Colts game? The NFL announced we had 2 plays now at the end of the game that we fudged up, and it affected the game, and that's unfortunate. But look, in the long-term scheme of things, Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, I think it's DeJean. Maybe DeJean. I don't know.
Yeah, is going to be a good player. It's always hard to see a white secondary player and like focus
Harrison
on
Smith, buddy.
On how he did. That's like one. And focus on like how good is he really? Well, how athletic is he really? He's thrown me off a little bit. I'm really excited to get to his all-22 just to be like, all right, is the hype really real? Because you guys that are return men and guys that just play a lot of positions, especially in like a program like Iowa, if their coach is putting him there, he's a baller. But now it's just what does he really bring to an NFL defense? So, you have any other honorable mentions from our top 10? By the way, you brought up Newton. I wanted to bring up Joe Alt, the left tackle from Notre Dame.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think I thought last year the hype was not warranted. And I was like, there's some. He's okay. He doesn't really have the power that I want to see. I think his size actually kind of limits him. It's just there's a lot to his game that's kind of disjointed, and I don't think he's the sum of his parts. But this season, I think it's all come together. I think his timing his hands and feet are in unison a lot better. I think his size doesn't look like it's a big issue anymore as far as like, is it holding back his range? Is he a knee bender? Is he a waist bender? I think this year, this is a dude that could actually like put himself in the top 5 conversation with some of the top tackles and just top prospects overall. So I'm hesitant to just like make that big of a leap on a certain prospect, like from last year, this year, but he's definitely ascending on my board. See him. Oh, and then Cameron Kinchins,
safety Miami. Yeah.
Safety Miami. Yeah. I think he's listed like 6'1", 205 or something.
Yep.
Old school player. Well, those 2 safeties at Miami will absolutely smack you in the mouth. I'll kill you.
This might be a bit of a hot take, but I like the other safety better, James Williams.
He's an athlete, bro.
Yeah, and he's 6'4".
Yeah, we'll get into him probably in another episode because he was I think he was the top ranked. Was he the top overall recruit or just the top safety recruit? When they both
top DB, I think. I think he's a top DB.
I think so. Yeah, they're both amazing. Watching them kind of interchange and play both positions and do everything is really fun. So, but yeah, Kinchins has just stood out because he's the guy that really wants to smack you. And in today's day and age with how soft football is getting in general, it's really refreshing to see some of these dudes like, I don't care, man. Like I'm gonna blow somebody up and I'm gonna make the offense feel me. So he's been pretty cool to watch. I don't know if he's around one guy yet. Probably not.
Maybe.
But it's a maybe. He's probably, back top last 5-10 picks or something like that. So
yeah, it's hard if you're a safety to go first overall because a lot of teams don't have the justification to take a safety in the first round. And so that's, unless it's the last 7-8 picks, you're probably not going first round if you're a safety.
You're usually a luxury pick as a safety. So
yeah. Now, there's two guys that I would put on as honorable mentions that we didn't mention. And so number one would be the offensive tackle at Duke. I think Graham Barton is a very, very solid player. I mean, great footwork, great anchor, strong and capable as a run blocker. He's more of a pass blocker, but he's very capable as a run blocker. That's a left tackle that I would feel comfortable putting my quarterback behind. I think he's had a lot to do with the success Riley Leonard's had. In fact, he did not play against Notre Dame, and Riley Leonard got hurt. So, just saying, your left tackle is really important. And I think Graham Barton's one of the best in the country. And then Keon Coleman, Florida State.
Yep, I wanted to talk about him too.
Yeah, that's a wide receiver that can freaking play. He can freaking play. He's just a big boy with crazy athleticism.
I hope he tests I hope he goes elite full-blown testing because I just want to see the conundrum he puts teams in with him and Marvin Harrison Jr. and just like the scout talk and like the media talk. I want the chaos. I want him to make it a real conversation because, look, if he comes in a legit 6'4", and has his, we've seen his tape. His tape's crazy. If he can back that up with elite testing, bro, like that's a conversation I don't think most people want to have because they want it to be easy. Like, no, we're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr., but like a second elite prospect is sitting there staring at you. It's really tough to separate. So I want that madness.
See, that's the thing. That's the difference between you and me. And I think it's probably because of where we live. You're in Colorado. I'm in Tennessee. There's a certain substance that's legal where you are that's not legal where I am.
Right.
That makes you feel a lot better about chaos. So that might have something to do with it. But it would be fun to see Keon like run a 4.39 and leap 42 inches.
Yeah,
like that would be crazy.
Oh shoot! Yeah. Now
what do we do?
Now because and that's the thing. I was like, teams have these conversations. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of the media. We talked about it with Jarvis again last week. Sometimes they're just like, we said this guy's better all year. Let's just stick with it. But there's going to be people in those war rooms that say, hey, like, explain to me why we cannot even talk about this. Why this guy has to go before this guy. There has to be a justification. What do they look like in our offense? What do they look like 3 years from now? Are they done growing? Is there a different? Is a 4.39 that much different than a 4.45 in our offense? Like, how do we go about that? So I think I'll pop an edible and just watch the craziness go down while you over there have to suffer it up. And
Thanks.
Absolutely.
I love you too, buddy.
Oh yeah, man.
Well, I think that's about all all the time we got for the show here tonight. But thank you all again for tuning in. Oh shoot, I totally forgot about this. I have an ad read. DraftKings, the NFL season is going strong, and DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking up new customers with an offer that's even stronger. Bet $5 on any game this week to score $200 instantly in bonus bets. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of a sweeter offer every game day this October. Get in on the game day greatness. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code SICKSPORTS. SICKSPORTS. New customers can score $200 instantly with a win of their first bet. So you can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets and just go ham at it. Start taking shots.
And it doesn't have to win. Your bet just has to settle. Your bet just has to be settled, and you get those $200 free bucks. You don't have to even win it. So
You don't even have to win it?
I don't think so. No, put that $5 on the underdog and just see what happens, pal.
That's even better, dude. That's just like, that's crazy.
I know.
That's crazy. Hey,
So-
I feel like Kevin Hart over here discovering like that's too much magic. That's too much magic. Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, good callback to that commercial, man. Nice.
Yeah, it's a good commercial. You got Fitz magic, baby. That's too much magic. That's too much magic.
Oh, bro.
Anyways, you can follow the show at SickPod NFL Draft. You can follow me. This is on Twitter X if you're not tracking. Follow me at Draft Vogel. Follow Justin at Gam Scout. Does Shane have a Twitter account?
He doesn't want it. He doesn't want the shout out. He's a humble young man. Actually, I'm not sure.
I don't either. Shane, you need to give us your Twitter if you have it, so we can get that squared away and start shouting out our producer properly too, because you're here
Absolutely.
2/3 of the time.
Yeah,
I think. So, anyways, thank you again for tuning in. That's our top 10 big board mid-season, I guess we could say. We'll probably revisit it later on in the year and expand on it, go deeper down the rabbit hole of NFL draft scouting. And we'll be back at it next week. Thank you again.
Yeah, man.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Draft Vogel on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.